Hi, Sufan. How are you?
Hi, Ada. I was just getting myself acclimated. I've been on a Zoom call since 8 o'clock this morning, and it has nothing to do with SWOG. It's something else either. So I'm reorganizing my brain right now. Sorry,
I'll
I'm
let you
kind of in my
focus.
own flow for a moment there. Sorry.
No worries.
How's everybody else on the call?
Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Sufan. Doing well. I
Hi.
just sent you a private message. I'm lecturing at 1 o'clock, so
Okay,
I will be dropping off at that point. And I think
no
Kim will
worries.
join from UCSD around 12:15. She's giving some cells right now.
Okay.
Thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think Dan has also another meeting conflict, so I'm going to move the agenda item a little bit to get him finish all the stuff that he needs to update us, and then so that he can sign up to join another committee meeting also. So this is unusual. First time our meeting is so early in the group meeting. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes before we start. Okay, I see people are starting to sign on, so we can go ahead and get started. I think if everybody use the participant feature on the call, you will be able to see all the people that on the call. Since many of the names are quite familiar, so I figure I might want to just skip the attendee introduction instead. So the next item is meeting minutes or the summary report. So since last few meetings, it's been through the use of virtual meeting. So it's been recorded. And when I get the summary report, I've been sending it out to the members to make sure that all the information are accurately reported. So we'll just store it or file that as is. Introduction of new members. In the slide deck that I sent out to many of you who are on my communication list, you may see that the membership list is that I have on one of the slide. It doesn't seem to be current or updated. So what I'm going to do is, because some of you are also converting membership or taking some time for the membership committee to process it. So the key is, I know Rivka, you are still not added to the membership list. So I have you on my list already. However, there may be other members who are in the process of going through the membership approval process. And if so, if you can please send me an email and let me know, so that what I plan to do is to use that membership list that I have received and perhaps make an appointment to talk to the membership committee representative to sort out the status of everybody's approval. And some of them may be waiting for approval from the Board of Governors at this meeting, which will occur on Friday also. So after the group meeting, I will make an appointment with the membership committee representative and go through the membership list to make sure everything is updated, or if there are any documents that is needed or missing to complete the membership approval process, then I will take care of that if I can, or else I will contact you personally to make sure that everything is updated. So this is, I just wanted to take a few minutes to share that in the event if you look at the membership list and your name is not on there. So please do help me to let me know, because we also have new members and some special membership going through, and some people are also transitioning from more a temporary membership to a more permanent membership. So your help will be very helpful to me to update all those. So then I'd like to move on to the next one, which is the summary report of the chair and committee activities. Then I know you have a time restriction, so I moved that item up to make sure that you can give us an update on that early on in the meeting.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Sufan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Um, so as most of you guys are probably familiar, we've been working for a while to improve drug interaction screening for patients enrolling in SWOG trials. Last year, we got some HOPE funding to do a prospective quasi-experimental, like pre-post comparison of the effectiveness of drug interaction screening using sort of standard practices, and then at those same sites, using our drug interaction screening tool that we've been working for a couple of years on developing with a medical informatics company. Because of COVID, that was kind of put on hold, as a lot of sites just couldn't keep up with the standard, like the everything they had to do and their usual bandwidth, so they definitely couldn't add a new project. But we got time at the Oishi Symposium to re-propose that to the SWOG staff, so we'll be doing that on Wednesday. We have had 2 sites that went ahead, and just to get all the practices in place to make sure that we are able to sign agreements and collect data. So we have a tiny bit of data collected, but we're really expecting for more sites to start up after we represent the study later this week.
I think you're muted, Sufan.
Oh, did you just complete your presentation then?
Yeah, I just gave a quick
Yeah.
verbal update.
No, I was listening. I just wasn't sure if you have anything additional. So great, thank you.
I guess I'll also just mention that we had done some prior studies looking at rates of drug interactions in patients in SWOG, and several of those things and the development of our drug interaction screening tool were accepted for publication in the last year or two. So I think a lot of those things have been emailed out to the committee and should be available somewhere in the SWOG registries of publications, or you can search for Sufan and my last names and should be able to see some of the work that we've published.
Do you think it'll be okay, or is there a copyright issue for us to? I don't think we can post it on our website, right?
Post what?
The articles.
I think that we can distribute them. That shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Are you also, another question is, are you in touch with the commercial partners on the drug interaction platform?
Commercial partners being like the pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah, I'm blanking out on the name of the company, to be honest. That's why I call them the commercial partners.
You mean Pepid, the company that
Yes,
made the
yes,
tool
yes.
with us?
Thank you. How can I forget that name, right? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, of course we're in communication with them. They understand that there was a slowdown, but through the funding that we got, we were able to distribute some funding to them
Mm-hmm.
for licenses to use the tool. And they've been really responsive and a great partner. So for the two sites that have been on our study, they were quickly able to activate their access to the tool. So yeah, everything's good with us and them.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. So thank you, Dan. The next item is just a little reminder of, even though we are not a research committee, however, as a support committee, we are eligible to do secondary analysis, which I think AKA used to be called retrospective analysis or study. And I think, at SWOG, or actually, I think I like that, is called secondary analysis. So this allows you to potentially even do surveys, or you can go into requests for existing data in trials that has been conducted to do any of analysis that you can think of to do. So if you're interested, and I know that there are quite a few members in academia, but even many of very active clinician also. So if you're interested, please don't hesitate to let me know. I don't need to be part of the program or the project. The key is you just need to keep me in the communication loop, because the secondary analysis needs to go through the triage also. So with that, the committee chair needs to be communicated with, so that I can also support the process also. So if you're interested, let me know and think about that. And hopefully with the years that I've been with SWOG, I can also help to support providing some historical information as well, to help you formulate the proposal. So that's just something that I would keep it on as a standing agenda item to remind everybody that there's such an opportunity, because I truly want our members to be more proactive and engage in many of the process. And I think you're all well trained for that as well. So the next item is the update of the Psc menu. This is also a standing item that we had. We haven't really completed that process, which we were hoping to. Part of the reason is because we are still revamping some of the areas, and you'll hear about that later today from Ada. Has to do with the drug information area, and also the process of how we are going to communicate with you for writers and reviewers of the drug information, and as well as drug interactions. So consequence to that, we are just waiting for that to be completed, and then we will go back in and update the Psc menu. So the next one is OLP representation. So I think Dan alluded to or mentioned that already. This Wednesday, 4 of us will be doing a presentation with the OLP, and actually it will be in the OSHA symposium. So it's just to update some of the activities that we have done in PSC, and hopefully that will create more engagement and partnership with OLP, which we always work very closely with. So those are some of the items that I wanted to update. So Ada, you want to do your drug information report first, and then I actually have a new item that I did not even get a chance to place on the meeting minute that I would want to share with the members to talk about.
Perfect. Yes, of course. Thank you. Well, as Sufan has mentioned, I serve as the chair for the Drug Information Subcommittee. And I wanted to first begin, for those of you who are not members of our subcommittee, to let you know what we do. Our subcommittee is conformed of amazing PharmDs who collaborate with each other to write the Section 3 and Section 7 for several protocols that are used within the SWOG clinical trials. The Section 3, as you know, is the drug information section, and the Section 7 is the treatment plan, and we look at the drug-drug interactions. Throughout the year, we receive several, our subcommittee receives several drug information section requests from the SWOG operations office, and to be able to complete this, our committee created several different templates. And these templates vary depending on the type of drug that is being used and items around that drug that are stipulated in the protocol. And the templates were created in order to ensure that a more uniform and standardized format is being used from one protocol to another. Next slide, please. One of those such forms was presented by Dr. Wong at our last fall meeting, and it is the Drug Interaction Standardized Language Form. Basically, what it covers is the drug interactions that is within Section 3 and the items within the treatment plan in Section 7. And the goal of creating this form was to shorten the protocol and reduce redundancy. And it has been great in trying to prevent conflicting information that sometimes was within the protocol. We originally were providing this form as a separate document alongside with the template. However, we identified that it was often missed. Next slide, please. So our solution was to incorporate or embed this form within the original templates that we have. And we have found that this actually does provide us with a more streamlined process. This was pilot tested with the drug information section for encorafenib, and they were spearheaded, the efforts were spearheaded by Dr. Smith, Dr. Emami, and Dr. Wong. Next slide, please. But so I just wanted to go over how the process for when we get the drug information requests from the SWOG operations office. Once we receive our request, we identify a writer and a reviewer, and it has been our normal way of working that we set an email communication so that we get the writer and the reviewer in contact so that they can discuss and better complete the drug information section, and alongside with due dates and all that sort of information. It was commonplace to use these email communications to also share the documentation required to complete these drug requests. However, we identified that sometimes we ended up finding hiccups in that the emails that were being sent were either not going through because the files were too big, the ones that were to be shared, or some of our institutions would encrypt our emails, which would make it really difficult for the receiver to try to retrieve that information. So because of that, we ended up making, we decided to make use of the Drug Information Subcommittee SharePoint site as our document exchange platform. It has worked really well. We have tried it with the latest drug information section that we have obtained, which is S1900E for the AMG 510 drug. And Dr. Smith and Dr. Lee have been kind enough to spearhead this efforts, and it seems to be working really well. So moving forward, just to remind everyone that we will be using the SharePoint as the point of exchange of documents as we move along. And just to finish, basically the process for the DIS requests is the writer and the reviewer provide their pieces, the reviewer provides feedback, and they work together to finalize the document, which then they give me, they provide me with a clean version, which I submit to the SWOG office. And just a reminder to everyone that those completed versions of the requests that you guys complete are also available within the subcommittee SharePoint. Next slide, please. Since our SharePoint is fairly new, I just wanted to go through the general process so that you know what to expect if you are being requested to serve as a writer or as a reviewer moving forward. So I will be sending you an email, and within the body of that email, I will include a link, such as the one that is being highlighted in this slide. If you double click on this link, next slide, please, you will be prompted to seeing one of these two windows that are shown on the left-hand side of this slide. And it's either for you to place in your login information, or it may have it already stored if you have already logged in and not erased your cookies. Then after you enter your login information, you will be requested for your password. Next slide, please. And that will bring you to the main homepage of the Drug Information Subcommittee SharePoint site. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to point out that a reminder to everyone that if you ever want to come to this main page, the home page of the Drug Information Subcommittee, all you need to do is click that highlighted link that says Home on the left-hand side of the screen. Next slide, please. And on the right-hand side of this home page, you will find all the documents that you have access to. And next slide, please. Since it can be a little bit hard to see, I blew it up a little bit. And what I want to draw your attention to is the different documents that you have access to. If you have been assigned a drug information section request, the type of information that you would be looking for is files such as the one that is starred in that example. In this example, for instance, the naming convention that we're going to be following moving forward is the study name, in this case S1900E, followed by the study drug, which is AMG 510, followed by the names of the writers and the reviewers, in this case Dr. Smith and Dr. Lee, and finally the date that request was received from the SWOG operations office. So this is the link that you will follow to try to access, well, not to try to access all the documents that you will be needing to complete your drug information request. I also wanted to very briefly point out that within this main homepage of the subcommittee SharePoint, you can also access the meeting minutes and templates and other completed drug information sections that have been done in the past. Next slide, please. So if you double click on that starred document, you will see a very similar second window, which now on the left-hand side, it displays all the documents that we have added that you will be needing for the completion of that specific DIS request. And these documents will involve something like the IVs, the protocol, the templates that has been the template that has been assigned for that request, as well as any other pertinent information, for instance, if there is a password that is needed or anything like that. I would also like to request to the writers and the reviewers to use this SharePoint site to exchange the different versions that you're working with, so that there's always a point where it can be tracked and followed for everybody's reference. Next slide, please. And just a reminder to everyone that you can always click on that home link to go back to the main home page. Next slide, please. And some other updates that we have provided some trainings on the submissions of the drug information section requests. I think they were pretty successful, and we are scheduling to provide these trainings on a more continuous basis as new residents come on board. So for those of you who may need or want a little refresher, or if you are leading and guiding any new residents coming along, please stay tuned for any invites for new trainings coming along. Next, I also wanted to point out Dr. Mason at our last fall meeting brought about a very good point that I think would be very important for us to start discussing, and that is the incorporation of genetic marker significance in relation to the drug reactions. So currently we have the drug-drug interactions in section 3 and section 7 for different enzymes and different transporters. But as the medical field and the technological field are moving so quickly with such great advancements, I believe it is of great importance for us to start looking at addressing these points and the potential incorporation into our templates of the drug interaction in relation to the common genomic variants. So it's a point that I would like for us to start addressing and potentially start working on it. And last but not least, the drug information activity updates. We have had 10 drug information write-up requests since our last fall meeting, and these are for rucaparib, eflornithine, imatinib, temozolomide, capecitabine, N803, sacituzumab govitecan, and encorafenib, etoposide, and trastuzumab. And I really want to sincerely thank all of our pharmacist liaisons and all of our fellows for all the uncountable hours that you have devoted to collaborating and helping out with these drug information requests. It is very much appreciated, and it couldn't happen without you. So thank you very, very much. And with that, next slide, please. I would just like to end my presentation and ask if you have any questions, feedback, suggestions. I am more than happy and welcome truly any suggestions that you may have. So please feel free to contact me. So are there any questions?
Thank you, Ada. And I also want to take this opportunity to join Ada to thank everybody who has been so supportive and working on the drug information also. So is there any questions regarding the presentation that Ada just shared with all of us? So then I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just kind of asking in a relevant question based on the drug interaction platform that we are working on. What are some of your thoughts about Ada's proposal for the genetic marker? And is that already included in your plan? If not, then do you see the role of that as part of this initiative that you have been working on?
So the PEPID tool does include genetics, or at least their backend database includes genetics. There has not been any discussion about including genetics in the version that is used for our clinical trials, mostly because so few patients have germline genetic information. If we got to a point where a lot of patients had germline genetic information, we could certainly talk with them about expanding the tool to include genetics. But of course, it's a pretty complicated area that I think we could explore if we think there would be value and if we thought a lot of patients would have the relevant genetics.
Also, I'd like to comment that in many, if not all, of the genetic marker databases, drugs aren't mentioned, either by function or by name. So that's going to be a major challenge to actually to do what you're suggesting, which I think is terribly important.
So I think, so go ahead. So sorry, I believe I completely agree. It's something that is definitely not going to be an easy thing to achieve. Most definitely it will take some thorough process and thought to be able to develop this. And with that in mind, I guess that's why I wanted to put it more as an open discussion that we can start, and we can start the process towards that, given that I don't know if you would agree, but yes, many patients are not showing their genetic information, but I think more and more is being used as practice, as common practice, to bring those genetic marker information as part of their treatment process. So it's something that I think we can start thinking about and start addressing with a thorough process indeed, as you mentioned.
So just a thought in my mind. Dan, I know you mentioned that it's not being used very common, and we don't really have an area where we know where it's being used. But I'm just thinking that as we are being asked to write for Section 3 with a drug, typically we most of the time we do get the protocol. Should a routine screening occur by looking at the eligibility criteria or the inclusion-exclusion criteria, as well as the laboratory monitoring, to see if there's any collection of genetic markers in the protocol, and then we can start developing or think about those kind of drug interaction from there. It's just a very premature thoughts here. I'm just throwing that out and see if I am on the right track.
I think I would need further clarification of what you're proposing. If you're saying, should there be DNA collected on protocols for future genetic analysis? We've had that discussion before, and I think for some of the large studies, it would make sense. If you're saying, should DNA and genetic testing actually be conducted at the point of enrollment screening to look for genetic markers that might indicate whether patients or what dose they should get? I'm not sure that there are that many drugs that are at that point.
Right.
Although there are maybe a couple examples here or there where it might make sense to do that. So I think it's really a protocol by protocol discussion.
Right. But that is, I think, in the future. But for now, I was just wondering if when I'm not talking about recommending for changing the protocol, because I think that will take a longer time and a larger scale to do so. But currently, I'm just curious in the event if that is already included in the trial design. But I don't think when we're writing for drug information, we are actually looking at the inclusion-exclusion criteria, right? Or the treatment plan to see if such markers are being collected as part of the protocol. I don't know, I don't think we're doing it very often, but I'm just wondering if we should add that step to the initial process. Ada, what are your thoughts on that?
Sorry. Yes, I think that would, personally, I think that would be a great idea of something to start reviewing. I truly believe that more and more patients, as more data is coming out, and to your point, is not something to be changed in the protocol at the moment, but something to start thinking about and start addressing, so that we have some solutions when the time comes to be able to incorporate those pieces.
Then I know the genetic markers was already part of the plan as we progress towards building the platform. But I'm just thinking currently, is there something on a more pilot or preliminary basis that we can do with just as an additional step to look at if the protocol is already planning to collect any of such markers, and perhaps generating a list in some way to, as Ada said, to get things moving, and then we'll be more prepared as we move forward, as we mature to that stage also.
Dr. Wong,
So,
may I ask a question? This is Christine.
yes.
Hi, thank you. I'm trying to, I apologize. I'm trying to get a picture of this from the user end. So would an example, for instance, be, for instance, a TPMT deficiency when we're looking at a 6-MP or methotrexate? Would that be the kind of genetic marker testing you're looking at? Or are you looking at like how histologies affect sensitivity to different drugs, or all of the above?
Ada, do you have, would you like to address that?
I think mainly the way that I am looking at it is mainly on the first example that you gave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I
Like
mean,
genetic
sorry.
predisposition to toxicities in certain agents, like towards irinotecan or oxaliplatin, in those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. In fact, there's quite a few studies, working on the other end. There's quite a few studies working on now that are looking for those biomarkers. The biggest one is 1714, looking at biomarkers for a number of different agents that might impact neuropathy in the taxanes and things of that nature. So there's definitely a lot of precedence out there. There's no single place that has that repertory, that repository of information. So this would be a great avenue to fill that void.
Thank you so much for the example, Christine. I appreciate that.
Great. So Ada, we can talk after the meeting to kind of maybe incorporate that into part of the screening process to identify maybe some of this protocol and see where we stand, and then decide on what is the strategy of the approach of that.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so very much for everyone's feedback and points of view. It's very much appreciated, and I hope I can pick at your brains as we move forward on this, so that you can guide me with your expertise on the best ways to get this done. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think we can always think of getting people with the expertise and the interest to form a task force within the committee to focus on that efforts also.
Indeed, I agree. And sorry, I missed mentioning this to everyone. I'm not showing myself in camera, not because I want to be rude. It's just I'm having some technical problems today.
All right, great, thank you. So may I have my slide deck back on? Thank you. So I am going to kind of disrupt the routine agenda that I have put together. We'll go back to that. Part of the reason is because, as I mentioned, there was a recent inquiries to the committee on some protocol dosing issues and calculation, creatine clearance calculation issue that I wanted to bring it to the attention and make a quick intro to the team. And then what I would like to do is after the meeting, I would ask for some of you who are interested to help me by forming a task force so that we can relook at policy number 38. So essentially, this comes from the Quality Assurance Office at SWOG because of several issues. So I make my best attempt to summarize that, and hopefully it makes sense to you. The first thing, and it is all surrounding policy number 38, which is the dosing policy, and which is a policy that the PSC is heavily involved in creating and continue to update also. So first of all is a confusion of a dose modification during treatment. In our current policy, we use a term of the last dosing weight if there is a weight change of more than 10%. So the feedback was this last dosing weight is somewhat confusing. So maybe we need to retake look at that and determine if there's a better term to use. Another thing that came was that because our weight change is more than 10%, but some EMR system are using less than 10% weight change. So this is something that we just need to add some language to the policy to talk about the override of the EMR system. Would that be allowed so that the Quality Assurance Office, when they do the site visit, would not classify that as a protocol violation or vice versa. So that's one area. The second area has to do with dose rounding. Currently, policy number 38 is recommending for dose rounding to 5%. Since we set that up, HOPA also created a guideline. HOPA, for those of you who are not pharmacists, is the Hematology Oncology Pharmacy Association. And this guideline was also reviewed by NCCN. And in that guideline, the recommendation is 5 to 10%. So obviously, it's extending beyond our 5% margin. Most recently, there was a site visit which indicated one of the SWOG site is actually for a drug for the carbazine. They are rounding dose to the nearest vial size of 200 milligram. So for the protocol dose calculation, the dose came out to be 1,080 milligram. And the site rounded up to 1,200, which is more than 10% of the dose rounding. And the site provided a rationale as in response to the protocol violation citation, stated that because all in the protocol, there's a footnote that stated all doses should be rounded in accordance with institutional procedure. And I think they are using that to say we did not have a protocol violation. To me, my interest more so is that, is this a safe practice? I do have concern because a 1080 could have round down to the nearest 200 milligram dose also, and the round up created a 10% dose rounding. So I just feel that we probably need to take a look at that. And instead of saying a 5%, should it always be round up, or should it be plus or minus 5%? So that's something to think about. Now, interestingly, I was also provided an NCI guidelines for all calculations, and they basically have categories of violation. They allow for plus or minus 5% deviation. If it's 5 to 10% is lesser deviation, and if it's more than 10% is a major deviation. So I think it's quite interesting that we have several guidelines that has kind of in the same ballpark, but there is some minor differences, which potentially can create protocol violation, which we don't want that to occur. But clearly, I think this area, we need some cleaning up of either our policy and also to make it clearer, as well as providing more guidance for protocol writing in terms of a generic statement to just say according to institutional procedure, particularly because nowadays I think when we created the policy 38, there's not a lot of EMR system to override. We use more of our logical judgment. But I am seeing more and more of the EMR system because they were not set up with tighter criterion or criteria. And that created some of the issues here. So that's something for us to think about as well. The third one has to do with the creatine clearance estimation. It's coming back to haunt us one more time for creatine clearance. So I guess the question is that should this creatine clearance, is it only for dosing, or is it also be used for both drug dosing and eligibility assessment? And in addition to that, there are some ENR systems that we know of that currently do not place any limitation of the three parameters that are being used in the Kirchhoff and Gauss equation. So that's something that we also need to look into. And as many of you know that because of my own career development, I have not been as involved in direct patient care as I used to. So therefore, I really need your support to help me to understand some of the differences in the EMR system setup and what is the best way to support the site, as well as to help with streamlining some of this practice to make sure that we don't end up causing harm to our patient and as well as for our clinical trial subjects as well. So next slide, please. So with that, I need a task force. I need you. I need your expertise to help me. So if you're interested, what I like to do is to have all this. I don't think it would take us more than two meetings to complete our recommendations. And so if you can, and I hope that you can, please email me if you're interested and if you can support the task force. And then I would put a couple of meetings together so that we can look at all these issues and really polish that up, and as well as polish up our policy number 38 for another revision also. So that's all I have for this particular item, and I hope to hear from many of you. Thank you. So if I may have the first slide on my slide deck to go back on the agenda item, please. Okay, so we are now at item number 3. So this has to do with study drug handling and patient education handout follow-up. So one of the things that we have been working on is to want to collaborate with ORP, I'm sorry, because the members in the ORP committee really are the ones that is doing the majority of the direct patient care in managing clinical trial subjects. So Christine, have you had any opportunity to talk to your colleagues in the committee, and
Yeah.
anything that you can report back to us?
Yeah, so with the same issue with a lot of the SWOG documents that do come out is that unless they are specifically granted IRB approval, we can't use them. So one of the ways that we can make that more easily done is by including that document inside the consent form, inside the protocol itself, in the body of the protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I've done, I'm also the protocol liaison for the Milo match basket trial that's being written. And so in the writing of that basket trial, I proposed to the PI of the entire basket trial is to use the text from this drug handling patient education handout to replace the text that's currently in there and make that the standard. And so I'm proposing that we're working on disseminating that same practice out to the liaisons of the other subspecialty committees, lung and lung and breast and whatever it's going to be, and have that incorporated as part of that main document. We're also posting. So by doing that, including in the protocol itself, then we're free to use it, disseminate to our patients without IRB approval because it's part of the protocol. So I think that's probably going to be the most effective first shot, and then we're posting it on the CRA workbench where the research nurses, research coordinators get all the documents that they give to their patients, or there's a great deal of education elements that are on there.
So you're running a pilot right now.
Yeah. So, well, I've asked them to put it into the MyeloMatch protocol, and we're still in the process of writing the draft for that protocol. As we're talking here, my other screen is flashing with emails from Dr. Radich and others, and Dr. Erba about trying to expedite the protocol construction. So that's part of that whole process.
Now, Rivka has generously provided us with a template of the handout from her publication.
Yes.
Are you working with her on that, Rivka?
Well, that's the template that we're
right. Okay.
using.
Good. And that template is also placed on the PSC website, also at SWOG. So it's accessible by others as well.
Oh, great.
Rivka, do you have anything additional that you would like to add or share?
Yes, so I will be presenting this document in the OISHI Symposium on Wednesday. And also I will tell the participants that at the University of Michigan, I sent this general template or general handout. I don't call it a template, it's more like a complete handout to our IRB. And our IRB co-chairs asked for some modification and then approved it to be posted on our website, our internal website, to be used. So now it can be used as a general handout to use in studies. So they kind of gave it, they mentioned that it doesn't need an IRB approval, that it can be used. So I will present it on Wednesday, and the template is available for anybody to download and adapt to either studies and put it in specific studies, or see what the IRB would say if they want to use it as a general handout.
Great. Thank you, Rivka.
Sure.
Okay, I think that's all I have under item 3. So Jane, I know you're on the call. Would you like to give us some update about the beacon?
Yeah, thanks. So just a quick update. A couple months ago, we started with our first protocol, and that's been up and running for a little bit now. So the next step is to get a survey going with the GI committee to see, what they liked about the order set examples, what maybe are things to change. And then also additionally, there's another protocol that's about to be activated. So we're also working on some order set examples with our next protocol. So I hope to have something to update you guys with next time regarding the survey and how it went, if people thought it was helpful or not. So that's a little bit where we're at.
So Jane, I'm going to ask you, would you, if there is another member on another committee, would you be interested to bring somebody in this process, just so that to introduce this process, and maybe they might want to take a look at what they can do in their disease committee?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea. Let me bring it up to the GI committee, and then I'll kind of let you know from there. But I think that would be a great idea if someone's also interested in this, effort. If we could start branching out, I think that would be great. It would be nice to see what the survey says, to see if people actually saw it and used it, because The problem is it's not included in the whole protocol manuscript. It's kind of as an additional document. So that was kind of a big key, is trying to make sure people noticed that that was coming along with the activation of this protocol. So I'm going to talk with the vice chair of the GI committee soon to kind of get that survey going. And then I'll mention to her as well about maybe if we're ready to branch out to another group. So if someone's interested, I know that we asked for some interest before, but if there's a particular, committee or something that we want to branch it out to, I can bring that up.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, so let me see if Dan is, yes, he's still with us. Anything for digital engagement committee then?
No, so I'll say that a lot of what digital engagement has been focusing on is, I guess, like social media and that sort of side of digital engagement. I think there's now going to be more of a movement towards digital health and health IT tools. So I think they're going to start a subcommittee focused on that, which might have a little more overlap with like our drug interaction tool and other kinds of tools that could be used either to improve patient health or to improve the SWOG mission of conducting clinical trials. But I think that work is really just getting started.
Okay. And can you clarify for me, I don't know if you are aware, the survey, I think, there are more survey study being considered as SWOG. Is that something that goes through the digital engagement committee or?
Yes. So there is a subcommittee within the digital engagement committee that is specifically responsible for looking at survey proposals and trying to give some guidance on some of the more technical and logistical aspects of the survey. So they do have a subcommittee that oversees those, but those surveys are supposed to originate from some other kind of disease committee and then go through the digital engagement survey subcommittee and then go to the SWOG executive committee for final approval.
Good. Okay, that's good to know. Thanks. Any questions regarding that? So this is relating to the secondary analysis items that I mentioned before. So for those of you who are interested, I think, then just share with us that if it's related to certain disease committee, then you need to go through the disease committee, and then it will go to the digital engagement committee for review. However, if this is something that is across for multiple disease committee, then do let me know. And then what I can do is I can find out process of that. I believe there is a policy and procedure regarding conducting survey study or second analysis study also. So I will be able to find out for you. So thank you, Dan. So item number 6. Yes, yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hello? Is there a question? Oh, okay. So item number 6 has to do is a committee website. So we have been looking at that and continuing trying to update. So if there's anything that you feel that is valuable to place on our committee webpage on the SWOG website, please contact me. And we can look at that. Some of you may know Wendy Lorton has left and she has moved on to work for Kaiser. So we will have a replacement for her in her place to support us for that. So with that, I like to just quickly look at our Pharmacist Liaison list. And so, Matt, if you can take me to slide number 4 of this slide deck. Okay, so this is our current pharmacist liaison assignment list. As you can see, we have some vacancy that we are looking for coverage. So if you're interested, please let me know. Or if you are interested in a certain disease committee that actually you can still let me know because I can always work with the existing liaison because some of them are being placed in those because out of necessity, not necessarily because of their own interest. So consequence to that, I think there's a lot of room for negotiation. So if you have any particular interest in any of the disease committee, please send me an email and let me know, and then I will see what I can do to reorganize this list. As you can see, breast committee is a big committee. And so we definitely need 2 liaisons there. And melanoma is also another committee. We only have 1 liaison at this time. So please let me know if you are interested. And I would love to have you be part of that. So thank you. I think my last slide. Sorry. Now I need to go back to the agenda. Slide number 1, please. Is there any report from our disease committee liaison or any observations that you have made that we should be aware of or pay attention at? Okay, with that, then my last slide has to do with the membership, and I already covered that because there's been some update that needs for the membership. So again, please take a look at the membership list, the slide deck, and if you know that your name should be on there and you're not, or vice versa, etc. Or if you have any question regarding your membership application process, please send me an email, and then I plan to have a dedicated meeting with the membership committee representative to go through the list and make sure that we have everything under control there. So with that, I think that completes our meeting. We were very efficient. However, I do like to open the forum up for anybody. I know we have people attending that the names are not very familiar to me. If you have any items that you want to bring up or any questions, this is an open discussion time. And I'm just going through some chats right now to just see. Nope, nothing that I need to address there. So, all right. And if there's no additional discussion or questions, then we are done for another meeting. And thank you again before I conclude for all the support and help that you all have contributed to the committee. So we're doing good things, and I think we have been a very strong committee to support to make SWOG successful also. So thank you very much for all your contribution and also for your participation in this meeting. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sifan. Thanks, everyone.